It appeared that Prince William encountered one of those moments at Royal Ascot this year, which was meant to slide by entirely unnoticed, yet caught the attention of literally everyone. In truth, analyzing the fine details of that afternoon reveals this was far from an isolated, clumsy blunder on the turf. Rather, it represented the tipping point of a storm that had been gathering for months. To understand this, one must look at the setting itself. Royal Ascot is not merely a high society racetrack where aristocrats wear outrageous millinery and consume expensive champagne. Within the House of Windsor, it serves as a highly calculated display of institutional leverage. Every invitation, every seating choice, and every arrival order is mapped out weeks in advance by palace strategists who treat minor logistics as if they might trigger a front-page crisis across the United Kingdom. And quite frankly, they usually do. That day, Prince William arrived expecting the standard protocol, a tightly managed layout where senior, duty-bound royals occupy the focal point. The power structure is meant to be unmistakable, offering a perfect, unified picture for the waiting media. Yet what lay before him instead reportedly left him stunned, a shift in atmosphere that onlookers picked up on almost instantly. Seated directly inside the exclusive royal box were members of Queen Camilla's immediate family. This specific location carries an immense symbolic weight within the court. It is far more than a prime view of the horses. It represents a public, undeniable statement about who sits at the very heart of the monarchy. Lest anyone dismiss Prince William's reaction as mere hypersensitivity, the internal culture of the palace must be kept in mind. In the monarchy, visual representation functions as actual administrative policy. A seating arrangement that seems completely trivial to an ordinary television viewer can signal a massive tectonic shift to those within royal circles. On this occasion, that signal hit its target with incredible force. Witnesses observed Prince William freezing mid-sentence as he took in the sight, his facial expression hardening in an instant. Nearby courtiers began exchanging anxious looks while staff moved with an unusual, frantic haste. The ambient energy of the room shattered, shifting from flawless control to palpable friction in a matter of seconds. Seasoned royal correspondents know such a dramatic shift in temperature never occurs without a deep, underlying friction. What makes this turn of events so compelling is how Catherine remained right by his side, displaying flawless professionalism. By keeping her public composure entirely intact, she projected an aura of absolute calm, striving to maintain order while her husband absorbed the reality of the situation. Yet, insiders reveal the discomfort had already rippled far beyond the couple. The VIP guests noticed it, the domestic staff picked up on it, and within the insular network of royal watchers who analyze these gatherings like critical security briefings, anomalous patterns were already being recorded in real time. Then came the sudden exit of Prince William, which truly triggered a quiet crisis behind closed doors. This was no loud argument or dramatic scene in front of the crowds, but a silent, premature departure. Anyone familiar with the strict machinery of royal scheduling knows that a prince does not simply walk away from Ascot without warning. These appearances are choreographed down to the single minute. Consequently, when Prince William departed ahead of schedule, palace handlers fell into a state of quiet hysteria, desperately trying to calculate the fallout and manage the immediate aftermath. This underscores the true power of symbol within a ruling dynasty. Silence and withdrawal are frequently the most deafening declarations possible. Prince William did not cause a public scene or confront his family openly. He simply left, yet that single action communicated everything. Journalists covering the event immediately recognized the bizarre timing and began demanding answers, but they were met with absolute silence. The palace offered no explanation, no clarifying statements, and no reasons for why the future monarch had walked out early on one of the crown's most treasured seasonal traditions. In the end, this very refusal to speak only served to supercharge the controversy. To grasp why Prince William would react so intensely to such details, one must examine his broader perspective on the crown. Those in his inner circle have long maintained that he views himself as the ultimate guardian of the monarchy's modern integrity. He watched Queen Elizabeth navigate decades of public scrutiny, intense pressure, and immense personal sacrifices to preserve the institution. He observed how meticulously she curated the visual identity of the royal brand, carefully choosing who stood on the Buckingham Palace balcony, who appeared in formal portraits, and precisely what the public was permitted to see versus what remained strictly hidden. He integrated those hard-won lessons into his core philosophy. Now, with King Charles facing serious medical challenges, Prince William's team is acutely aware that the transition to his own reign is no longer a distant academic scenario. It is a looming reality that could arrive far sooner than anyone wishes to discuss openly. Because of this, every public ceremony, every formal appearance, and every seating chart is evaluated with far higher stakes than they were 5 years ago. This was the high-pressure backdrop of the Ascot incident. It was never just a minor complaint about Queen Camilla's relatives occupying the wrong seats. It was about what that physical placement symbolized at a moment when Prince William believes the crown requires absolute clarity, not ambiguous boundaries. The mystery of how this logistical failure occurred in the first place sent several key palace staff into a state of panic afterward. Who gave the final approval for this seating plan? Was the prince's office briefed and ignored? Or was this a genuine administrative blunder occurring at the worst possible moment? No clear answers were provided, which veteran royal observers know is a classic sign that the truth is both complicated and highly sensitive. What truly alarmed senior advisors was not merely the physical seating error itself, but how rapidly the discrepancy was exposed to the public. Photographs began circulating across social media platforms. Commentators dissected every single frame, and a private family disagreement was suddenly being analyzed by millions of citizens without any palace oversight. The chaotic hours following Prince William's early exit offered an illuminating window into the deep ideological divisions within the royal households. Such internal taking of sides among staff, in an institution where unity is demanded above all else, serves as an undeniable warning sign of deep institutional instability. According to royal sources, the younger palace staff felt immense sympathy for Prince William's stance. Naturally, they kept this quiet, as no one in that world speaks on the record. Instead, they signaled their allegiance through the subtle, unspoken cues typical of closed institutions. This younger faction believed the Ascot clash was merely the eruption of a conflict that had been brewing for months and could no longer be swept under the rug. Their concern was not born of personal hostility toward Queen Camilla's family, but rather the long-term impact on public perception if non-working relatives continue to occupy spaces historically reserved for the direct line of succession. This is a highly valid concern when analyzed from a strategic perspective. Public respect does not evaporate overnight. It erodes gradually through a series of subtle visual cues until an abnormal arrangement begins to look like the new normal. Palace traditionalists feared this exact slow drift was underway, with the Ascot incident representing yet another step in a direction they watched with growing anxiety. Conversely, another camp within the palace viewed the reaction as wildly excessive. Sources suggest some aides believed the situation was being judged far too harshly, arguing that hosting Queen Camilla's family in the box was a simple gesture of personal warmth and hospitality rather than a calculated power play. From their viewpoint, Prince William's abrupt departure risked creating a far more damaging public scandal than the seating arrangement itself ever could. This deep division between the two factions threw the palace media team into a state of total crisis management, as they found themselves struggling to control two completely opposing internal narratives, while the global media began filling the silence with its own speculation. The role of Catherine during this entire episode deserves close attention. Every account of that day emphasizes her measured, elegant demeanor and her focus on preventing the situation from escalating into an open public spectacle. However, insiders are quick to note that her calm exterior should not be mistaken for neutrality. Those close to her understood that she shared Prince William's concerns regarding institutional boundaries and the trajectory of the court. She simply chose a different, less confrontational strategy, focusing on the long-term damage that could occur if these disagreements spilled over into open warfare. This combination of Prince William's immediate instinctive reaction and Catherine's quiet strategic stability reveals how they operate as a unified partnership. He acts on instinct when he perceives a boundary has been crossed, while she ensures that his reaction does not transform into a damaging media headline. Yet on this occasion, even Catherine's stabilizing presence could not halt the growing momentum of the story. By the time veteran royal reporters were asking sharp, direct questions, the palace was caught in its least favorite position: reactive, silent, and visibly unprepared, with every hour of silence allowing the public imagination to run wild. The comparisons to historical royal feuds emerged almost immediately, reviving debates over balcony appearances, title allocations, and who qualifies as a working royal. These familiar points of friction resurfaced because the Ascot situation mirrored them in ways that could not be ignored. Observers have noted a clear pattern of moments where the boundary between the core royal unit and the wider family circle is tested, with each subsequent test generating a louder public backlash. At the very center of this painful storm sat King Charles. Consider the incredibly difficult position he occupied. On one side was his wife, Queen Camilla, who fought for decades to win public acceptance and whose family's presence was likely intended to reflect her hard-won status. On the other side was his son and heir, who increasingly views himself as the protector of the monarchy's future and believed an essential line had been crossed. There is no simple resolution to such a dynamic. While King Charles has a long reputation for attempting to reconcile opposing family factions, this incident left him with no neutral ground. The visual of Queen Camilla's family was already public. Prince William's reaction was known, and whatever the king did next would be interpreted as a clear endorsement of one side. Insiders report that King Charles was deeply shaken by how rapidly a personal family dispute was transformed into an institutional crisis. Finding the public dissection of his family's internal affairs deeply exhausting, in the days following the Ascot incident, sources describe an unusual, heavy, quiet falling over the palace, not the serene silence used to project calm, but a tense, watchful pause. High-level meetings were convened to discuss future protocol and event management, and through it all, Prince William's position became increasingly clear. He was not going to back down from the message sent by his early departure, indicating his reaction was a deliberate stance rather than an impulsive act. In the weeks that followed, it became evident that this dispute would not be quietly buried like past scandals. The traditional palace strategy of staying silent and waiting for the news cycle to move on failed because Prince William refused to let the matter rest. Associates describe a prince who emerged from the Ascot crisis more determined than ever. His early exit and subsequent refusal to offer any public explanation were highly calculated moves. Those who know him well state that he uses silence as a powerful tool, choosing to make firm decisions and stick to them until the institution is forced to adapt to him rather than the other way around. The concrete action Prince William took after the Ascot incident was to demand significantly tighter controls over all future royal engagements. This was not a routine administrative memo, but a direct restructuring of how future events would be managed. High-level discussions began regarding approval processes for seating, guest lists, and who is permitted near the active royal line. These discussions made it abundantly clear to everyone involved that a fundamental shift in authority had occurred. This transition of power is something observers have tracked for some time, as Prince William's approach to the monarchy has always been highly structured and pragmatic. He firmly believes the survival of the crown depends on maintaining a clear, visible boundary between the core working royals and the wider family. This belief has intensified as King Charles's health challenges make the reality of succession feel immediate. Watching the reigning monarch face a serious illness alters how a future king views his responsibilities, and those close to Prince William suggest this proximity has made him sharper and far less tolerant of ambiguity. Some insiders compared his uncompromising nature to Princess Anne, who is famous for her strict dedication to protocol and duty over sentimentality, suggesting Prince William's core instincts run deep and will not soften under pressure. The position of Queen Camilla in this conflict is highly complex and deserves a nuanced understanding rather than a simplistic narrative. Having spent decades as one of the most heavily criticized figures in modern history, her journey to becoming queen required immense personal resilience. Therefore, her desire to have her family close and visible at major events is entirely understandable. However, the survival of the monarchy relies not on what is understandable, but on what is institutionally sustainable. The concern among palace traditionalists was never about Queen Camilla personally, but about the precedent being set. Once extended family members are repeatedly seen in symbolic royal spaces, the public begins to lose clarity on who truly represents the crown, and reversing that perception is incredibly difficult. This is the fundamental tension the Ascot incident exposed. A serious debate over the visual identity of the crown during one of its most uncertain eras. It is a clash of two different visions for the preservation of the institution. Meanwhile, Catherine's standing has only grown stronger, with her poised handling of the crisis cementing her reputation as a vital, stabilizing force who understands the fragile nature of the crown's relationship with the public. Ultimately, the Ascot incident reveals that the transition toward Prince William's eventual reign is already occurring in practical terms, as he establishes boundaries and defines priorities that the palace is already adjusting to. Royal power does not always shift in a single dramatic coronation. It transfers gradually through smaller, decisive moments where one leader's authority becomes absolute,